Okay, guys, let me introduce you to Jessica McNeil. She is a founder of Arrow Fencing. Now, she had made her reputation in building fences for both commercial and residential properties and making sure those fences are durable and high quality fences. Uh, Jessica, welcome to Great Means Growth. It's a privilege to have you on our podcast, and I'm sure the young entrepreneurs who will be listening to us would be able to learn a lot from you. For sure. Now, I'm sure that people now know that you're from the fencing industry, and fencing industry is an industry which is required a lot from a day-to-day basis for your usual needs, right? Now, like, what is your journey? How you got into this specific industry, and how long you've been into this industry? If you can tell more about it, I think that would be great.
Actually, my husband is the one that was in the fencing business for probably about 3 years. He worked with
Okay.
another guy. He was basically project manager. He, did the quotes. He did the sales.
Mm-hmm.
He organized the guys in the field. Basically, pretty much run it without it actually being his own. He
Mm-hmm.
unfortunately all of a sudden lost his job and basically just decided October of last year.
Mm-hmm.
He looked at me and said, "If I don't start my own business, then I'm never going to do it." So we started
Okay.
Arrow Fencing. So,
I think that's a great story. I mean, like losing a job is not a good thing for sure, but this was kind of a blessing in disguise. Like you and your husband were able to pick up the opportunity at the right time for you. I think that's a great move, and that's a bold move for sure.
oh yeah. So we started the company, and it was my husband and his brother originally that were basically getting the work and out there actually doing the work. And
Hmm.
we had a friend of ours that was part of the BNI chapter that we're in. And he came to us. He was like, "I really think BNI will benefit y'all. It'll definitely help y'all grow." And
Hmm.
we were a little,
Yeah.
no, I don't know about this. We just started, because that was October last year, and we were like, we just started our business. Like, I don't know if we're,
Hmm.
ready for that. And so we said, just come visit. So we came
Yeah.
and visit the chapter and uh, thought about it and was going back and forth. I think we visit twice. I ended up like subbing once for somebody so I can go again. Um,
Hmm.
and then we just kind of was like, okay, maybe this will work. And it's funny because the fees for BNI and stuff like that. We
Yeah.
basically didn't make our car payment to pay for BNI. So
Oh, okay.
it was like, we took that
Hmm.
risk of doing that, and
Hmm.
that was in March. So since March, we have got thank you for close of business like almost a half a million in our chapter from it. So
That's great.
it definitely was a very good leap to take, and
Yeah.
I've met so many great people, and I've got now one of my best friends is I met through BNI, so BNI definitely does work. So
Yeah, yeah, for sure. I mean, we've seen people grow their business. I mean, for some of the people or the businesses which we know, almost like 70 to 80% of the revenue come from Vienna itself.
mhm.
So the community which they have built, I think that's amazing. And initially, at least for us, the major challenge was also the discipline. Every week, one day in the morning, you'll have to go there, be present for 3 to 4 hours. That's a discipline and which you need to be very cautious of if you're joining. But even for us, I think it was kind of a blessing in disguise that we became more disciplined on how we do things because it gives you that kind of opportunity. And especially when talking to people, I mean, there are great people in BNI.
Oh
You
yeah.
can talk to them in day in and day out. You get to know so much about the industry. Otherwise, it was more like we are working in silos. Nobody knows what's happening, and when you go over there, you understand. Okay, people are doing a lot of things which you can learn from, when people inspire you. So yeah, for sure, that's a great thing, and especially for you guys, I'm sure that You mentioned just a couple of things, but you guys have been taking risky moves since the inception. Like
Yeah.
after job, like starting BNI, I understand how difficult it would have been for sure.
Oh yeah.
So,
And I think it's also BNI's helped so much as far as like growing my, public speaking, talking to people, building a
mm,
personal relationship with somebody and like, talking about your industry and about what you do and stuff
mm,
like that really helped me alone, you know, open up a little bit more as far as that. So
yeah.
really, not only money wise beneficial, but it's also benefited me as a person,
Mm. So one of the things which we realize is if you talk to people in BNI, irrespective if you are getting a business or not, they'll remember you when they'll need it. And especially fencing kind of a business is something which you don't need it on a day-to-day basis that okay, tomorrow I'll go do a fencing stuff in my house. If I need it, I'll look for it and I'll find someone who can get the job done. But if I know someone who's good, I mean, they've had a, let's say, even one round of conversation, they'll remember, okay, yeah, I can call Jessica and maybe they can help us get the job done.
yeah, most definitely.
So, like when you started, and because you started with a kind of a high risk, I'm sure there would have been a lot of challenges which you might have faced. And let's say before BNI and after BNI, if you can tell us how things changed for you with respect to the challenges.
Yeah, before BNI, it was around Christmas time, and holidays and stuff like that, at the end of the year, and
Hmm.
we had a hard time, like it got slow. It got, where we
Hmm.
didn't know where our next job was coming from and stuff like
Yeah.
that. And then after BNI, we struggled because now we got all this work that was coming in, and it was just my husband and his brother. And it was like, my husband can't go
Yeah.
out there and quote jobs to get more work and be in the field actually installing the work, so
Hmm.
we had to struggle with trying to find a crew, and employees
Yeah.
to help us out with that. So it definitely, different struggles than what it was before,
Yeah. Yeah. But the latter struggles are good to have.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, like even I was talking to a couple of people like during the podcast itself, and one of the issues which they have faced after BNI was the shortage of crew.
Hmm.
Uh, that's a real pain for sure.
And then like, the struggle because I was working still my full-time job. Like I didn't
Hmm.
quit my full-time job. This was all my husband's role, and then it got
Hmm.
me so busy and so much he couldn't even handle like the quotes and scheduling jobs and ordering
Hmm.
materials stuff like that. And I ended up leaving and jumping on board with him and helping him out with doing all that stuff. So definitely a good thing to have, but it was a struggle to have to manage all that when we were not used to it, especially like that big that fast.
Yeah, and I'm sure the quality would have been great because, um, especially in service industry, it's about the people and the job which you're getting done. But there's a difference between service and hospitality. um, like service is getting the job done. Hospitality is how you treat and how you make those people feel when you're interacting with them. If you have and I'm sure that you have mentioned that your communication skills have improved, your talking to people things have improved. So while you're talking to people and if they feel good about it, and if your service is also good, those things actually these are contagious. I mean, you'll get more leads just because people like your work and people like talking to you in general.
Oh yeah. We don't do a lot of advertising. I mean, of course, we have like a Facebook page and stuff like that, but as far as like ads and commercials, we have none of that out here. And it's just our business really has grown on word of mouth and the referrals
Mm,
and like doing somebody's fence, and then the next neighbor next to them are like, "Oh, who did your fence? I love it. It looks great." You
mm,
know, and also knowing out there that like in a big huge neighborhood there is other fence companies out there installing, but we've had
yep.
several people that said we went around the neighborhood looking at different fences and we could tell which fence was yours compared to another fence company, and we want to go with your fence, and it makes you feel good that you're doing something right, You're
Yeah.
it's not just out here getting a job. It's out here
Hmm.
providing fences and beautiful stuff for people to live in, and go out in their backyard and enjoy a cup of coffee, and you know
Yeah.
uh, and provide for their house. We do a lot of work for like kids or people that have pets and dogs and stuff. Like they move into a new house and it has no fence, and
Hmm.
they don't want to go outside every morning, and every
Yes.
night letting their dog outside. They want to be able to open the back door and let them go play in the backyard. So um, it definitely makes us feel good when we get those emails back and those comments back saying, Aerial Fence was amazing. They did a great job. You know,
Yeah. That those things are quite satisfying. If you can make your client satisfied, I think more than money, I mean these things keep you happy, keep you uh, like awake the next morning, and you'll be more comfortable in uh, doing all those struggles again, just because you know that people are happy.
yeah, I agree.
Yeah. But like surprisingly, like you don't do any sort of marketing. You do so referral is one of the thing, and I think BNI is another one. It's good to know that you're able to generate so much business out of these two things because like we've been working with a couple of fencing companies, and when I say work, as in like we are into advertising.
Yeah,
So local businesses in US is something which we have been doing for a very long time. I'm not sure if you're aware, Superior Fence is one of the companies we've been working with. They are into franchisee models. So, but as far as I know, a lot of companies, their 40 to 50% business is just coming from marketing.
yeah.
And it's so good to see companies which are bootstrapped and eventually they are getting most of the business from referrals. It's great.
It is. I mean, I guess it's Facebook and it's BNI because, like, if because all the people in our chapter and members
Hmm.
all are on Facebook together, and they see somebody like, oh, I'm in search of a need of a fence, and for my backyard, and
Hmm.
it's like bam, bam, like every member in our BNI is like tagging us, and so it's
Oh,
just so it's I mean, that is like a big, BNI has definitely been a marketing tool for us too because they advocate
yeah.
for it, you know.
Yeah, it's, I think even they like to say that it's not just you, the 50 other people in your chapter, they are your salespeople who'll, yeah, that's true. And that's working for you, and that's great.
Oh yeah.
So, when you segregate your revenue streams in general, what would be the percentage of BNI if you don't mind sharing? How much percentage BNI contribute to?
It probably I would say at least 80% of our business comes through BNI stuff.
That's so great. I'm so happy for you. Uh, I'm sure that you're doing a lot of right things because people who have I interacted with, and you're amongst, let's say, the top 1% of BNI probably.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. Okay, great. So, like in the fencing business, to be honest, what I understand is these are sort of businesses people don't pick up voluntarily, and especially the new kids which we have who wants to start their own business, they want to start something which is more fancy,
Yeah.
which is more, let's say, uh, people are able to showcase it more on social media that, okay, oh, I started this company, I'm making clothes, I'm making some, let's say, bling jewelries or something of that sort, which they can present it more. So, what do you think your comment or your suggestion to those people would be regarding these businesses which are slightly less unpopular, but they actually do a lot more impactful work?
So like far as why would somebody want to build a fence? Is that what you're trying to get at?
So, not just fence or in general, any business which is slightly less popular, but these are the impactful businesses, not the fancy ones. Ideally, a lot more people can get into fencing, let's say, not just fencing, any sort of local business, because these are the businesses which actually create impact in the specific area. and they are able to make a lot of business out of it, which the young generation actually do not understand a lot. They think that if they want to grow or if they want to create their own startup, it's necessary for them to do, let's say, a D2C business in which they create a website, they want to sell stuff online. Could be bag, could be a t-shirt, could be something of that sort. They don't want to get engaged into a local business primarily, or it's not the first choice which they have. And if
So
you defer to my opinion, we can say that as well.
So of course, like with us, I feel like everybody's building. Like there's always fences, there's always houses going up. When it
Hmm.
comes to doing interior painting, exterior painting, landscaping, concrete work, fence work,
Hmm.
shutters, roofs. Like all this, and essentially that's what's needed for the economy. Like people want to have a beautiful house. When they go to buy a house, they want everything, they want everything to
Yeah.
be beautiful. And that's kind of like your advertising. That's your showcase of what you can do. And it will always be around. Like if you
Yeah.
go and want to design clothes, it might be a
Hmm.
fad for a while, and then you won't have nothing. Like people find the next fad to go on to. No matter what, people are going to need a fence. No matter what,
Yeah,
people are
for
going
sure.
to need stuff for their house. A roof on their house.
Hmm.
They're going to need their house painted. They're going to need their grass cut. They're going to need, things like that. And it's a
Yeah.
service that I feel like will ever go away.
That's true. And like the things that you have mentioned, so a lot of podcasts which we are doing, these are the people who are either, let's say, the junk cleaners, the proper van they have, or the painters, or the roofing companies. And these businesses actually create a lot of impact, which I don't think a lot of young generation is actually uh, understanding.
Yeah.
But another thing which I wanted to ask you was, so you mentioned that BNI has been a great help to you. Is there something different you would, or is there anything which you would want to suggest that okay, people should do this if they want to crack BNI?
Um, Definitely people, if you want to join BNI in order to get the return out of it, I definitely believe that you need to show up. You need to have those one-to-ones. You need to build those
Yes.
connections with these people in your chapter, because if they don't know you and they don't know your story and they don't know, how well you perform what you do, how great of a product you have, if they don't know
Hmm.
these things about you, how are they going to be able to refer you to
Yeah, that's true.
a friend of theirs, or refer you like it? So definitely you have to show up. Is the accountability of making sure you're there every week to give your 60 seconds and to speak your story. That way
Hmm.
you're fresh in everybody's mind, so when they're out talking to friends or they're out selling what their company does, and they
Hmm.
somebody says, oh, I'm really looking for a fence. They could be, oh, yes, Jessica, I know, So
Yeah.
I definitely feel like in order for you to benefit out of BNI, you definitely have to be present, and you definitely have to make those connections with the members, because every one person that you're making connection with has, hundreds of other connections around them.
Yes, that's true.
So you have to build that relationship to, in turn, hopefully they will spread and give you
Hmm.
another relationship. And then from that person, it's another 50, 100 people. And then, just
Yeah.
trickling effect. And the next thing you know, from that one person that you made a connection with and you got to know in BNI, you got thousands of, other connections out of it. So I
Yeah.
definitely feel like you
It's a
have to be,
domino impact for sure.
oh yeah.
Hmm. So have you ever thought of, because one of the, let's say, major challenges which you've been facing is the shortage of the crew, probably. So, like, have you ever thought of that if you want to create a franchisee of aero fencing and sell it to more people so that you're able to acquire more a specific area and deliver the same quality products and the durable products which you've been doing?
We actually, sorry. We actually had a couple of, we did have like two. three maybe crews at one point, and was going around
Hmm.
everywhere. Probably eventually, when it gets, I mean, right now we have one really good crew. We've,
Hmm.
unfortunately, this economy, you hire people and it don't work out very well. It's hard to find good help.
Yeah.
So, but right now we have a very good crew. We have a good lead time. We're not that far out. We've been able to manage and suffice with just the one crew. But eventually,
Hmm.
yes, it would be an idea of adding more people to our team and spreading out to other areas and stuff like that. But with us being a little over a year old with the company, it's we definitely found a very good common line of
Yeah.
where we want to stay.
Yeah. I'm sure the growth has been so exponential that even you, at every stage, are trying to settle in with you're trying to make yourself more comfortable with the growth, more work, because at the end of the day, you only have limited time,
Yeah,
and you'll have to invest your time at work, personal life, BNI, and there are lot of things in which you get your time divided. Um, I'm sure you are managing it really well.
yeah, trying.
Yeah, that's all you can do, but you are doing it great.
Right.
Um, cool. So, like, okay, this is one of the question or one of the segment which we have, in which the previous podcast which we have had, they ask a question about the to a next podcaster. So, I have a question coming from one of the painter, uh, and I think they were based out of Dallas. The question is very specific that, let's say if somebody is starting a new business and that new business is in fencing industry, what is that one challenge which they should actually think prior to starting a business, or how can they minimalize the risk of that specific challenge being happen?
The best advice I can say for something like that is just make sure that you do right by people. When you go out and you talk to a client and you're trying to get that business, all you
Hmm.
can do is just be open and honest and communicate. I feel like a lot of challenges that other fence companies that I've heard of that they've had is the communication part. You're not
Okay.
updating them on things. You're not, like I update my clients when the material is going to get delivered. I update when they're going to come out and start the work. I update when, oh, it looks like we won't finish
Hmm.
Wednesday. It'll be Thursday morning. I'm very,
Hmm.
constantly communicating with them the whole process as I'm doing, as I'm going through the process of it too. I think communication is a huge thing that you have to make sure you do in order
Hmm.
to build people's trust for them to even want, to
Yeah.
trust something like a project like that. So I definitely advise for somebody that wants to start a fence company or do anything like that would be just make sure that when you do go and talk to people and you're trying to get a project and you're trying to get a job,
Hmm.
um, that you're just, open and honest and you make sure you're very communicative and just try to help. Some people just need help with, certain things. We have clients sometimes that have special needs kids and they need a
Hmm.
fence in the backyard because there's a pond back there and they're scared that their kid's going to run out and get in the pond, and it's just having that open heartness of it and making sure that you understand where somebody's coming from. And sometimes you have to work with their schedule. You have to work with them and what's going on.
Yeah.
So I definitely feel like communication is a huge.
And that's a great advice, and especially when you mention that you want to split up the entire process and explain them that, okay, this is the timeline for this, and that. And that is required because sometimes and I'm not saying people do false commitment, but sometimes they commit things and it's not under your control every time. There are external factors, let's say because of shipment thing, your goods which you're supposed to get, they got
Yep.
delayed by a day or two. If you don't
Rain,
communicate, they
rain's
have
a
certain
for
expectations.
us. Yeah, rain's a huge thing for us. If it rains a
Yeah,
day, we can't. we can't go out and work in the rain
Correct.
and do,
That's
you know,
true.
so it delays our schedule. We try
Hmm.
to tell people like, oh, we're about 2 weeks out. We can come out in 2 weeks and install your fence. But then the next week it rains 3 days. So the three
Yeah.
days that we were supposed to work on somebody else's fence got pushed back, which means they got pushed back. So
Hmm.
I try to make sure that I'm communicative every step of the way. And when things change or something happens,
Yeah.
I let them know ahead of time so that way they're not sitting there going, well, where's my fence? Why are they not
Yeah.
here putting my fence up, you know?
And people usually get surprised. So a lot of people don't like such surprises and they get agitated. If you, so let's say you're supposed to be here today's morning, and if you're not here, they'll get agitated. And if you inform them prior, you're not giving them any chance to get that kind of agitation. You're just warming them up, just like prior to the situation actually getting out of the control. Telling anyone at the 11th hour is always a problem. That
Right.
person will be unsatisfied because he is into that specific mindset right now that, okay, you were supposed to do something today and you didn't do it, and you didn't even inform me that it's going to take another day or probably another hour. So anything could be like that. So I think your advice about communication is something which we have been following for us as well, because we are also in servicing. We are into client servicing for advertising. We understand that if something is not going to be on a specific timeline, you need to tell them prior. If you tell them on 11th hour, they're expecting things to go live tomorrow. You can't tell them tomorrow that, okay, we won't be able to take it live today. It has to be communicated today. Like it has to be, should have been communicated day before yesterday. But if you're not able to communicate yesterday, you should communicate as early as possible.
Oh, yeah.
I think it was really nice, Jessica, to have you on Grit Means Growth. Uh, I'm sure, like, even I learned a lot. I'm sure that audience will be watching the podcast. They will learn a lot.
Awesome.
Thank you so much for sharing your entire journey. And I'm so happy that you and your family took such bold steps, and you are at a great position right now. And I wish you more success, more clients, more crew, and you grew to much more franchisees.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I appreciate this opportunity.
Thank you so much, Jessica.